Hey everybody, Rob Maurer here. Happy Friday. Busy week this week. I hope everyone has enjoyed everything that we have learned from Investor Day. Today we've got some new details on Giga Mexico, which of course Tesla has announced, and a few other items as well. Looking at the stock, nice to see a bit of a recovery after the sell-off after Investor Day yesterday. Tesla up 3.6% today to $197.97. The Nasdaq with a nice day as well, up almost 2% on the day. Tesla has published their slides from Investor Day, so I think it's 169 slides in total. Gives us a chance to review those. Those are just on the Investor Relations website if you do want to take a look through those. All right, getting into the updates on Giga Mexico, the governor of Nuevo Leon, who was, of course, at the Investor Day, Elon had announced him and introduced him. He did an interview on Mexican media and has disclosed a few details about the project. So he said that the team has already arrived from Tesla to start the construction process. Obviously, they're not going to be breaking ground yet, but setting up for that milestone. We'll talk a little bit more about that timeline here in a second. He said that Tesla suppliers have actually had the green light from Tesla to locate here from December. So they've already got a couple of months head start in terms of their locating and co-assisting with Tesla there in Nuevo Leon. And of course, there's a lot of suppliers in the automotive industry in Mexico already. He also said that Tom Zhu told him that Shanghai took 9 months, and Tom Zhu wants to break that record with Mexico. So I know we didn't get much of a timeline from Tesla in terms of when that would happen, but it sounds like they are setting an aggressive timeline plan here. And with the team already being there for construction, hopefully, it's less than a year from now where we start to see, really massive progress with Giga Mexico and maybe even, fingers crossed, a little bit of production out of there. But we'll see on that. He also mentioned a couple of times that this was planned to be the biggest building in the world. So I think we know that Giga Texas is sort of in that ballpark as well with the Boeing factory. Those are kind of 1 and 2 right now. So we are going to see a massive project here, or a massive building size here from Tesla. He did also note that we had talked previously about some of the water issues that were, a part of the conversation. He didn't anticipate that to be a major issue. You mentioned a couple of reasons. And then also noted that Elon had said that the Boring Company may come down to the area and help and explore some ways to maybe improve that situation. So kind of interesting note on that. We also do have a better idea of where exactly this is located. Jonathan Esper on Twitter did some research and was able to find this exact location from Tesla's render on Google Maps. So nice to see exactly where that's going to be located at. It is only about 400 miles from Giga Texas. So it's a nice distance. Tesla could actually presumably use the Tesla Semi to make transport between these two facilities if that is something that's needed. So not too far down there in northern Mexico. We also have some updates from Reuters on some of the details on the factory, some of the plans. They say that the factory is going to span several thousand acres, actually 4,200 acres. That's almost twice the size of Giga Texas. Of course, that's, I believe, Tesla's biggest in terms of acreage size. So 2,500 acres for Giga Texas, 4,200 now for Giga Mexico. So we don't know exactly the size of the factory, but the location that they have there is certainly plenty of room for them to build on for many, many years ahead. And they also say that the production, we'll come back to a couple of those, the production target would be for about 1 million vehicles per year. But of course, with all this space, I would expect that over time, Tesla does expand that. As we've seen with with Giga Texas and Giga Berlin, we've got so many now, hard to keep them straight. But with Giga Texas and Berlin, the sort of publicly announced targets have been 500,000 per year. But obviously, we expect those based on other information that we have heard to, over time, potentially scale up to 2 million a year. So I would be pretty surprised if Mexico doesn't also scale up to that level. And with the incredible amount of land here, probably looking at something even higher than that. I wouldn't be terribly surprised if this eventually goes to 3 to 4 million per year. In terms of the investment, it says Tesla will initially spend about $5 billion, hiring about 5,000 people, ultimately doubling that to $10 billion and up to 10,000 workers. So again, that kind of gives you an idea of, okay, if the initial target's maybe 1 million, maybe doubling that, and then some efficiency gains, even moving things a little bit higher than that. So we'll see on that. Let me see if there's any other notes there. They also said that Tesla would be revealing what vehicles it will produce at Giga Mexico when it breaks ground, which it plans to do in 3 months. So again, construction team already there, hopefully groundbreaking in 3 months, And then from groundbreaking to sort of production, it sounds like Tomzu is targeting something less than 9 months there, or at least to sort of commissioning for production. So we'll see on that. We may have a little bit of confirmation or supporting evidence of some of these reports from Reuters here, from Matthew Ryan on Twitter. He was saying that he had a chance to speak with Tomzu after the event at Investor Day and got some information. The Gen 3 platform will first be built in Mexico. They'll copy and paste that to other Gigafactories. The first Gen 3 vehicle will roll off the production line in 18 to 24 months. So that does conflict a little bit with the 9-month timeline from breaking ground to some sort of production. That would put us about 12 months from here. I don't think they would be producing another vehicle there first before Gen 3, but maybe they put them on a Y line or something in this factory as well. That would be a little bit surprising. So the timelines aren't quite lining up there. So still a little bit of confusion, I think, on that point. He said Gen 3, or he asked if Gen 3 would be painted or stainless steel. Tom apparently smirked a little bit and said paint's expensive. So read into that however you would. Giga Mexico will be built at the same time as another Gigafactory, apparently. So, we'll see. Sometimes some of this stuff can be a little bit, lost in telephone, or the message that's being communicated not 100% clear. So this could easily mean that, depending on how it was worded, they'll work on Giga Mexico, but also be expanding the other factories. I think that's a possibility. Obviously, the intent there is also the other possibility. And then it says all Gigafactory architecture, design, construction done in-house. No surprise on that. Talking about the ramping there, taking a little bit longer for Austin and Berlin with the structural pack. So I think that has, in a way, confused people a little bit on what exact timelines to expect, because Shanghai was so fast, and then we heard Tesla talk about wanting to beat that with Berlin and Texas, but it's been, obviously, to this point, a little bit slower. We'll see how that changes as the ramps continue, but it definitely, I think has given people maybe a longer expectation, which probably good, but at the same time, we could see Tesla revert a little bit and maybe hit something more like Shanghai's timeline with Mexico, or maybe even faster. At the same time, though, Tesla obviously talked about a lot of the new things that they're going to be doing here. So in a similar way to the structural pack, causing things to take a little bit longer, we could see that happening with Mexico as well. So a lot of interesting details here. I think we know a little bit more. Hopefully this timeline is a little bit more clear, and probably in 3 to 4 months, we'll know a little bit more on that. In terms of the vehicle being announced in 3 months, we'll see. I don't know if this necessarily means that they'll be showing off or unveiling the vehicle, maybe just making it more clear exactly what the product's sort of roadmap is going to look like there for Giga Mexico. All right, next we've got an update from Nevada. We had previously talked about how Tesla is expanding Giga Nevada to support semi-construction, battery production as well. They have won $330 million in tax breaks from Nevada as a part of this expansion project. So nice to see that support. Obviously, in terms of Tesla's overall scale of the business, at this point, that is becoming relatively small, even though it's obviously a significant amount of money. Probably more interesting, though, was as a part of this application for these tax breaks, Tesla did disclose that their estimated breaking ground date would be May this year. So just like with Giga Mexico, in about 3 more months, we should have a lot more information. Should be seeing more progress on Nevada around that time as well. And then they do say the estimated completion date for this expansion would be May 2026. So good to get a little bit more timeline information there on the Nevada expansion as well. All right, next up, we've got the China insured numbers. This came out earlier this week, but obviously a lot of other stuff going on so far. But for Tesla, for the week of February 20th, they had 10,700 vehicles that were insured in China. So a nice increase from the sort of downtrend that we had been seeing. Hopefully this continues, obviously dependent on Tesla's allocation between exported vehicles and domestic sales. We had Woo report that a lot of the production for this point in time for the quarter would be focused on domestic sales. So if that is the case, we should see this continue to trend up for the last 4 or 5 weeks of the quarter. As for BYD, just for context, theirs has also continued to increase, but still not quite at the levels that they were seeing in Q4. All right, last couple of items. Also a report that we had earlier this week we didn't have a chance to cover. Tesla is apparently working on a Project Juniper for the Model Y. So probably something similar to Project Highland, which we didn't hear too much about, or anything about rather, at Investor Day, but hopefully we'll get a little bit more information on that soon. But I would imagine this would be similar. They say it would involve exterior and interior updates with a target for starting production in 2024. So still quite a ways out from that, but wanted to pass that report along from Reuters. And then Ford has also announced that they will be increasing their production on the Mustang Mach-E. They plan to nearly double hourly production by the end of the year, bringing their run rate by the end of the year to 210,000 vehicles. So good to see that from Ford. Later this month, we are supposed to get an update from Ford on exactly how their business is split out between, I think, Model E is what they're calling sort of the electric business unit. So we'll keep an eye out for that in a few weeks. And then on the F-150 Lightning, also planning to increase production there, tripling it, in fact, up to a run rate of 150,000 by the end of the year. So putting those together, about 360,000 there for the Mach-E and the F-150 Lightning. And then right now, of course, the F-150 Lightning production is paused. They plan to resume that on March 13th. And then lastly, just a quick look at the calendar for next week. We shouldn't have anything, too major going on for the calendar. We do have Fed Chairman Powell testifying for a couple of days, and then I think it'll be the following week probably before we get updated CPI and PPI. All right, that'll wrap it up for today. So as always, thank you for listening. Make sure you're subscribed and signed up for notifications. You can find me on Twitter at Tesla Podcast, and we'll see you on Monday for the March 6th episode of Tesla Daily. Thank you.